Well, the URC Unloaded's back again. It's back. We've had a bit of time off, enjoyable time off, but it's been good to watch the URC. And John Barclay hasn't obviously watched that much URC. He isn't with us tonight, but I've got the ever faithful Thomas Shanklin, with me tonight to talk through a few games. Tom, how you getting on? How you keeping? How's things?
Hi, Stephen. Yeah, I'm okay. Have you been away, mate?
No, I
Have you been
haven't.
away?
You've got a bit
No,
of a
it doesn't
cough.
look like it. Doesn't look like it, mate. Looking a bit pale and pasty. You need some sun. You need some good
I
weather.
thought I thought you were asking me if I'd been away to Turkey to get the teeth and the hair done.
No, well, I can tell. For those that are listening, the hair is.
Mate, it's getting
You
thick.
got a hairline like Martin Johnson. That's how I would describe it. Your teeth are looking good.
Mate,
Your teeth are white.
don't bring up Martin Johnson. I know why you've brought up Martin Johnson. I'll leave that for off this podcast, Shanks.
Mate, this is my bread and butter. URC Unloaded. This is what I live for. This is why I'm here. John Barclay is off whiskey tasting or doing something, skiing probably. He likes to ski during this period.
Yeah,
doing something
very
that
expensive
middle-class people do.
Yeah. Well, he's going to be missed, that's for sure, especially when we're talking about the Scottish teams. But a man who you know well, he's coaching now at the Ospreys, Shanks. He's coming on, and it's great to have him. Mark's going to be with us, the head coach of the Ospreys. How you keeping? Thanks for coming on,
man. I'm okay, thanks. And yourselves?
Yeah, I'm good.
Very
Shanks
good, very good. I think he did you a disservice there. I think it, Boise. I'm about 17 stone now, mate. I've had to go a size up in clothes. I'm hiding it really well, but it finds us all at some stage. I saw you the other week, and you're like
what's the scale say?
Racing snake.
How do you
fit? Stress
will keep the weight off. Stress will keep the weight off, mate. That's for sure.
Yeah. Well, you're looking good. We should have given him a bigger intro. We should have given him a Grand Slam winner in 2008. Nearly scored the best try we've ever seen in the Principality. Oh, Stevie, he went from his own line against
France.
You're
in trouble when they're talking around what you nearly scored. You're fishing around for compliments
honestly, then. From his own line against France, it was handing people off, and it got to about about half a metre from the French line.
It'd have been a seatbelt tackle these days. It'd have been a penalty try, Shanks.
Yeah, you still wouldn't have got it though, would you? It would have been a penalty try.
Or even if they'd opened the roof, it would have been wet. I could have slid in or something. But anything than what happened, anything other than that would have been good.
Yeah. But how are you? How are you, Mark? Good times at the moment.
Times. Yeah. Oh, look, mate. It's whenever you're in our line of work, when you're winning, it makes life a lot easier. Makes coming into work easier. And it keeps everyone's morale up. Of course it does, because you're getting that reward for all the work that you're putting in, which sometimes doesn't always happen. So we'll enjoy the nice compliments that we've been getting. I've been getting a couple of pats on the back on behalf of the team, and that's been really a nice thing to be able to do. But of course, you know that there's always stormy water ahead, so you've got to make sure you prepare for that as well, and not get too carried away with what's going on at the moment.
What do you think the biggest change is, Mark? Because it was all a bit strange at the start, if we're honest, about you taking over the team the following season, and the season hadn't even started yet. It obviously wasn't probably the start that the Ospreys wanted, but in these last 5 games, all of a sudden, I think we start to see maybe a little bit more expansive rugby, maybe a little bit more attacking rugby from the Ospreys. Is that a fair comment? Is that what you're trying to do?
Yeah, it's definitely what we're trying to do, Shanks. Yeah. Look, we had a difficult start to the season, in terms of, if you look at the fixtures on paper, where the fixtures were, going over to Ireland is never easy. The conditions weren't great. You're playing a Munster team that, was pretty well loaded in that game. We had a decent side out as well, mind. We had the Dragons one was the disappointing one, in round 1. That put us on the back foot, because we deserved to get more than we did out of the game, I think. But rugby doesn't always give you what you deserve. So I think there was a couple of results there that probably knocked us back. And I think, like any sport, momentum's huge, and we almost got into that little habit of not winning. And there was some tight fixtures in there as well. So I think what the last 5 games have allowed me to do is free the group up a little bit around how we're playing. We are a set piece team. We're proud of that. You need your nuts and bolts in this league with the quality of the packs that are in the competition. Our defence has been really solid as well. So that gives you the platform. And I've probably felt, as somebody that's going into a slightly different role now, we need to grow our game with the ball, Shanks. You need to be scoring 4 tries a game, really, mate, if you want to beat the best sides. And you've got to start that process somewhere. I was probably looking at starting it a bit later than I have done, but I think we've started to make some steps around our attacking shape, some of our options, how we train it. We've definitely tried to do that, but I've also been very cautious around not overloading the players as well, because you can't change the world in a day. You've got to be very careful you don't end up muddling the team if they come in from a certain style, etc. So I think we're probably on the balance at the moment. We've got it about right. But I've been pleased with the coaches and the staff, the players, how open they've been, mate. That's been the real confidence boost for me, is that they're really open to the change and they want it, and they've embraced it. And obviously, their actions are showing that they're enjoying what they're doing, and ultimately that's what it's all about. You create, the environment's a good environment. The people make the environment, mate. We try and just get it organised and get them excited about playing on the weekend.
Yeah, the Stormers, when you played the Stormers at the Briefield, I thought that was an excellent game from you boys. But I think the game against Benetton at the weekend has topped that, partly because you nailed Benetton, partly because Benetton have had a really good season so far, especially in Europe. Is there part of you, Mark, that wishes there wasn't a break now and that you could continue this momentum and you can continue this confidence, because the season is quite disrupted with what's going on? Is there part of the wishes now you could just carry on rather than have a 2-3 week break?
Yes and no, Shanks. I think when you look at the momentum, then obviously you want another game straight away, don't you? But I suppose having experienced what's gone on around the changes in the coaching makeup over Christmas, the volume of games we've had, losing international players, actually, having a little break from fixtures gives us an opportunity to reflect, to probably go and polish some work that we still know is needed. As much as we've had some good results, we've had some fortune in there as well. We left it way too late against the Scarlets. Over Christmas, we'd scored 3 tries to 1 in that game, but they were really dangerous off our mistakes. So we made a few errors in that game, which kept them in there, and they got the scoreboard ticking through some ill discipline. So Cardiff, again, we had a red card. We weren't able to play the game we wanted to play there. We had to grind one out. So there's loads of, as much as it's been good, there's still lots to work on. We're a long way off where we need to be to be a top 8 team consistently and to knock the top 8 teams off regularly, because ultimately that's what we're in the business of trying to do. So actually, mate, having a bit of time to work on that could be good for us. And we've got some big challenges in Leinster and Glasgow coming, so we're going to need to be better.
Mark, just on your sort of coaching career and how you've come about to be now the Ospreys head coach. I know we were just chatting before we came on live there about you working at Worcester, working with the under-20s. Where did the journey start for you in terms of your coaching, and what's it been like? I know, reading, you've spent a lot of time away from family, doing a lot of traveling, and now you find yourself in probably the job, or one of the jobs that you've really, really wanted. So give us a little insight into that.
Oh, it's a mixed one. So I sort of found out I was interested in coaching. I'm pretty sure Shanks would agree here. Like, I wasn't a naturally skillful player. I spent a lot of time with the coaches, with skilled coaches, with kicking coaches, because I grew up in a small town in the middle of Wales where I was fast. They chucked me the ball and basically try to run around everybody at the time, and obviously that's great because it hones what you're good at. But what it does do, it masks a lot of sins. So when you come up against guys that can maybe run as quick as you or as fit as you, then you can't use that anymore. You need to find a different way. So I probably got into coaching or being coached later in my career, and I found it very beneficial. And I really appreciated, the time that the coaches spent with me, and that probably was the time where I thought, shit, excuse my language, the one moment I can actually give back when I finish playing is probably helping people the way the coaches have helped me. So that's where I got the love for it. And then, once you get into it, I went from, overnight being captain of the Scarlets into coaching for the Scarlets overnight and coaching the guys that I played with. So that was tough. I felt technically, probably and tactically, I was up to speed with the modern game because I've just finished playing it. But the things I didn't know were how do you treat people the right way? How do you get the information across? How do you engage with different learning styles? How do you actually work out what's critical? That stuff was stuff that probably I'm still learning now. I've got a much better understanding now, but going away to North Wales to coach, going up to Rotherham to coach, going over to New Zealand, all those experiences have been huge in my sort of, I think, probably personal management of people. I find that people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care about them and their journey and how you're going to help them get there. And I think once you can start to get a little insight into the individuals, I think then really know how you can help them. So that's probably how I started the journey. And I think to answer your question around the travel, look, if you're gonna go into coaching, you've got to be all in, and your family's got to be all in as well. You can't be. I think if you cut corners or you're not prepared to move, you probably don't care about it enough. And if you don't care about it enough, you'll chip out at the wrong stage. I reckon you'll go and find something else to do. You'll get into some sort of after dinner speaking, or you'll get into something that's easier, because coaching's not easy. It's nice at the moment, as you mentioned, with the wins we've got under our belt. But before that, as the assistant coach, there were some tough moments, around some losses, and you've got to be prepared to see it through. And hopefully, I'm at that stage now where I am a life coach now. It's what I want to do. It's what I'm passionate about, and you have to take the rough with the smooth.
Yeah, now I have bags of experience under your belt with your coaching CV. So when it comes to playing against Leinster and Glasgow that you just referenced there a couple of minutes ago, how do you go about winning those games? I know you're off a good run, but they're obviously the top of the league, the two best teams in the league, arguably. How do you is it more of a motivation? Is it more tactical? What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, there'll be a bit of everything to it, if I'm honest with you, Stephen. What I find about the best teams, and those two are two of the best teams consistently, is they've got a clear DNA. Whoever they pick in the jersey, whoever they play and wherever they play, they've got a real clear DNA. So you've got to respect that. You know that they're going to have their way at certain aspects of the game because they've got quality in the positions to have their way. But there are some nuances that you can do to influence that. You can tactically work your way around some of the challenges that those teams present. But the challenge is always not making sure you don't dilute what you're about, and making sure the players still believe that our game is good enough as well to compete. We've approached the last 5 games in a certain way around focusing on ourselves and developing our attacking game. But we'll know with Leinster, they're going to have probably more of the ball than perhaps some of the teams we've played previously will have. They'll actually be comfortable out of possession as well. In some moments, they'll be more comfortable out of possession. They actually want you to have it. So we just got to be able to deal with those moments. But the message, I suppose, to answer your question is we'll be focusing on delivering our best selves. If we deliver our best selves, which we'll need to, we've got an opportunity to throw some punches. And obviously, we need to make sure that we land some big ones when we get the opportunity, because they won't give us many.
Mark, there's some big chat around the Wales 23 to face France on Friday. Now, Dan Edwards, who's had a good season for you so far, is on the bench. Personally, I think that's probably the best decision. Maybe just to bring him into international rugby slowly rather than just throw him out Friday night against the favourites in a really difficult situation. What do you think international experience now is going to do for someone like Dan?
Yeah, I think you're right, Shanks. I definitely think with him having not been in the squad, worked with the playing group, the coaching group, I think Friday night in Paris would be a tough intro to international rugby. I do, and that's not to be dismissive of Dan's talent. He's an incredibly talented guy, but so you've got to try and set players up to succeed as well. And I think the way the team plays, Dan's got a certain style, and you need to make sure you utilise him with his strengths. And I'm not sure. I don't think any of us are sure how Wales are going to play this Six Nations. I think we're still probably, be fair to say, we're still looking at what style the group are trying to evolve and become. And if you're going to use Dan Edwards, you've got to use him in a very, very attack-minded game plan where he touches the ball a lot. he has to be allowed to influence the game. And he has to have a forward pack that can provide the speed of ball that he can utilise. So I think until we find, oh yes, guys, that's not good, is it?
What have you just done? Drop
all
the phone
good.
of you.
Are you still there, Mark?
Oh, he's gone.
I think he's cut off. Well,
I think what he's trying to say is right though, with someone as young as Dan Edwards, in the fact that it's a savage ask to play the favourites. I think they're the favourites, France, this year, Friday night, against players that are just on form, absolutely flying in Europe. I think you've got to manage players and look, it might be a case of bringing them on 20 minutes when maybe the game is gone. In terms like France,
yeah, go for it.
No, but you know what I mean.
We're 50-0 down.
Yeah, but that's when the French team could probably just relax a little bit, and that's when you might find the holes open up because the game is won. So I think it's probably a good decision. I tell you, Stevie, who I'm a big fan of, Ruben Morgan-Williams, and he's not in the squad at all, but he is. For the last 2 or 3 seasons, he's playing really well, consistently well. So feel a bit sorry for him, and obviously Max Llewellyn, who was probably the biggest shock that wasn't in the squad. But look, we are where we are, so there we are. But anyway, the Ospreys have 5 games.
They're flying.
5 games without a loss, and you have to take your hat off to what he's done, because I really feel like they're trying to play a lot more. I think previous seasons under Toby Booth, we would have seen them
they
play
were
as
terrible
much.
to watch. They were terrible to watch 3 months ago.
Yeah,
you know what
3
I mean?
phases
Like
kick, 3 phases kick, not going anywhere. But at least now they're firing shots out wide, and their attack looks a lot better. They look like they're realigning better. They look like they're coming onto the ball at the same sort of pace, so no one's being left behind. They've got options, and you have to do a lot of off the ball running in the modern game, because that's what creates holes. And I think it was a really big win, as I said, against Benetton, who have been on fire. I know they're missing a lot of players, but you knew that was going to happen because they always do, because there's 2 teams in Italy, as there are in Scotland. But I just think there just seems to be a different focus from the Ospreys at the moment, rather than low risk, pragmatic rugby. They're actually going in maybe with a different mindset of, right, we've got to play a little bit more. We've got to keep the ball for longer phases. We can't just kick it away. We can't just give possession away. We've got to trust our skill set. And I honestly think, since he's been in charge, Mark Jones, we've seen a clear change in their psychology of how they want to play it. And for me, that's massive positive.
No, but the thing with that is, Shanks, and we see it with a lot of teams, is that it's actually enjoyable to play like that. It's not enjoyable to go out and be just like maul, scrum, try and milk a penalty, go 2 or 3 phases, as you say, kick the ball. The lads want to go out and express themselves. They want to go out and score tries. They want to go out and enjoy the rugby. And when you actually see boys with smiles on faces, that's where you get the best out of them. So,
and fans,
fair play to Mark
fans
Jones.
love it as well.
Yeah,
fans love it way more.
More bums on seats. Build the brand, and that's what it's all about. Mark actually talked about there having to go out and score 4 tries against most teams if you're going to get a win. It's not like it was 10, 12 years ago when you could kick 12 points or 15 points with 4 or 5 penalties. So, no, it's great to see them going well. Another team that's going well, Shanks, they were my dark horses last year. Probably a year too early on that, but fair play to Dwayne Peel and the Scarlets, eh?
Look, I just think it's a case of these coaches have got the teams for a little bit longer. They're a little bit more comfortable. It only takes 2 or 3 wins, I think, for teams to actually gain a bit of confidence and go out and things start coming off. The Scarlets' line speed is a lot better. They look a lot fitter. They're starting to kick more penalty goals as well, which I think is a big thing. And a lot of teams don't do that. A lot of teams just want to go to the corner, take the points, or try and take the 5 points. Scarlets are just nudging over the penalties when they're there, coming away with something, which really helps in building games. At the weekend, I thought Johan Lloyd kicked really well, tactically kicked really well. Marnus van der Merwe has been excellent for them. Really good signing. Bit of grunt up front. Good in his line out. Line outs improved massively. Set pieces improved massively. And this was a game that at some stage I thought the Scarlets might have buckled. And maybe last year that might have happened. But there seems to be a steelier edge to him. I think Johnny Williams had another good game. The longer he stays fit, the better for the Scarlets. And they looked more comfortable. They looked more confident. It wasn't the greatest game that we thought it was going to be because we thought it might be all-out attack. But they did enough to win. They had a really good 5-meter penalty where you see a lot of set piece, hit lousy, little play out the back. Johan Nicholas scores a try. So it was a good win for him, a really good win. And the key for the Ospreys, the Scarlets, Cardiff at the moment is just trying to stay within that top 8 as long as you can.
Yeah.
Get into the big boys competition in Europe and playoffs.
Totally agree, Shanks. I think with the Scarlets, they're not a team that's going to bully a lot of teams, so when they get penalties, they're not going to kick to the corner every single time. And I think over the last season or two, they've maybe been guilty of that, trying to take teams on physically when they're a team that likes to play rugby. They've got serious athletes, that plenty of pace, but they probably don't have that power. So, fair play.
A lot like Wales.
A lot like Welsh. Yeah. So 3 tries scored in that game. Edinburgh, will they be happy enough? They scored 4 tries themselves. Came
2 points. 7,
they got 2
so
points,
they went.
They got 2 points. They got 2 points. But Leinster, they had the full bag, 5 points. Dan Sheehan's back again. They're just a quality outfit at the minute. But I tell you what, Shanks, Leinster aren't playing brilliantly for large parts of games. Even in the Bath game the week before, it was 27-23 with 20 minutes to go and then a red card. Was it 39 minutes when Dan Sheehan scored his first try of the game? It was really stop-start. It was really, lots of mistakes. The referee was just, couldn't get any flow in the game either. That was more so just because the two teams weren't hitting their full straps. But brilliant to see Dan Sheehan back. How good was he? 5 months back from an ACL injury. I've never heard the like of it. Maybe he went to Costa Rica for some stem cell therapy.
No, remember it was
RMI clinic. If you're listening out there,
was it Nandolo, the all black wing that broke his leg and saw a witch doctor and came back within a month or something? Honestly.
I mean, but I've never heard. I think an ACL maybe eight months. I've heard, but 5 months back, and then as soon as he comes back, he scores 2 worldies tries, and he picks up where he left off before the injury. So the Ireland team's announced tomorrow, I think around lunchtime. It's going to be really interesting, Shanks, to see if Dan Sheehan is there. Slimani, this is something I wanted to ask you, Shanks. I know we've got a little bit of time. We'll breeze through a couple of other games, but you've maybe read about it on social media. David Humphreys, who's the new David Nucifora, manages absolutely everything across the 4 provinces. Leinster are now in talks to re-sign Slimani, to re-sign RG Snyman, and the other provinces have been banging locked doors for the last couple of years because they feel that they haven't been allowed to sign players in certain positions because they're sort of blocking the Irish pathway. And there's the likes of Clarkson for Leinster, and won his international cap in the autumn, but then Slimani's in ahead of him. And I know it's down to injuries. Tag Furlong's obviously been out injured for most part of the season, but what's your thoughts on that? Would you rather have experience in the team that you can rely on that's been there and done it? Or do you think that the likes of Slimani, RG Snyman are blocking the pathway for some of these younger Irish guys to come through and express themselves?
I'm obviously a rugby fan, and I just want to watch RG Snyman play. For instance, Slimani, his role is scrum time, and you can't launch a lot of attacks without a decent scrum. So he's just as important. But man, RG Snyman is just world class, and it's great that we get to see him play in the URC. So I'm all for it. I think you have to be a little bit careful of pathways, but doesn't seem to be hindering Ireland too much. I think your problem in Ireland is that you produce so many players that there just isn't enough room for them in the four provinces. But mate, I watched RG Snyman for like all season, and he's box office, and I would hate not to be able to watch him, because what he can do in second row is different to probably anyone else in the world. So for me, I love it. I love that he's playing for Leinster. I love being able to watch him. I hope he stays.
So tell me this, Shanks, if Leinster are in the URC final in June, who starts in the second row for Leinster? Do you reckon the two Irish lads and RG Snyman on the bench?
That's probably what happens. Yeah, that's what happens.
Yeah.
But you'll certainly see him come on 40, 50 minutes, and then you'll see him riding tackles off. Do you know what it reminds me of? He reminds me of a rugby league player, because he takes contact, all the defense just jog backwards to get onside, he offloads, and then all of a sudden there's more room then to play. Like, he's unbelievable.
Yeah,
I didn't realize you didn't realize how good he was, I don't think, until he left Munster and joined Leinster. Part of that is probably the way that Leinster play, but he was injured for a long time as well.
Yeah, I think that's down to, if he had played 15 games on the bounce for Munster, you might have seen this, the way he's playing, but it's off the charts. Bulls bounce back after a really disappointing Champions Cup campaign. Shanks 35 points to 22. They beat the Lions. Marcel Coetzee, former Ulster man of the match. A couple of ridiculously big hits in this game, a couple of nice tries. Beautiful weather, sunshine. This is what we want to see, Shanks, isn't it?
Oh, it is. It's what we want to see in the UK right now. You could see they were tired as well during the game. It was a fast-paced game. And to be fair, at one stage I thought the Lions were going to do it, but it was that last 20 minutes really where the Bulls came strong, just able to feed the ball out the back. Akker van der Merwe offload.
Akker van der Merwe was good.
Try. Yeah, mate. I think, do you know what I've worked out? Anyone with a surname called van der Merwe is good. I've not seen a poor van der Merwe.
Oh, there was a guy called Franco van der Merwe, played for Ulster in the second row. He was pretty average.
We've just shot his confidence. But you know what I mean,
Franco.
You know what I mean? There's so many good van der Merwes out there. But yeah, look, the Bulls were just a little bit too strong. I thought the Lions were going to do it at one stage. Obviously, they were home, but quality shone through for them at the end.
Yeah, they have a serious pack. Steenkamp, Grobbelaar, Wilco Low, good platform. It's funny the way they just switch on again when it comes to the URC. It's almost like some of the French teams that don't really have a shot in the Champions Cup, and then as soon as it comes to the top 14, they're like boom, straight back into action. You know, all their big game players turn up. So hopefully we'll see a lot more of that from the Bulls.
Well, they're not in Europe, are they? In the knockout stages of the Champions Cup. I think
no. That's what we're sort of talking about. Yeah. It's for a team with that many stars in it and that many caps and that much physical power and skill level. You just feel like, and I think as well, Shanks, when they play in the URC and they're coming over here to the Northern Hemisphere, they come over in like 3 or 4 week blocks. So they're here. Where in the Champions Cup, it's like 1 week you're away, 1 week you're home. Like, that's bound to take its toll. But anyway, the Sharks, well, they were happy enough with going away from home this week. Cardiff, they just didn't have enough, Shanks. 22 points they scored, but the Sharks racked up over 40. And again, they had a half-decent team out, but slightly disappointing from Cardiff considering they've had some really good home wins this season.
Yeah, they've just gone off the boil slightly, Stevie. They had a pretty good start to the season. At one stage, I think they were third. But they got it back to 28-22 with like 10 minutes to go. And then just the wheels came off. A big positive for Cardiff was Tom Bowen. He is the son of former Scarlets number 10, Gareth Bowen. And there's no size to him. He's not big. He's not really that strong, but he's quick on his feet, and he is so difficult to bring down because how good he is laterally. He had a really good game. Scored 2 tries. Just different to the mold, which I think you need on wings. You know, you can't just have big, I don't know, straightforward wingers. You need something a little bit different, and he's got that. But I think just maybe the physicality of the Sharks came through a little bit. I think they were a little bit more physical, bit bigger, bit more powerful. But to be fair to Cardiff, they got it back. Gabe Hamer-Webb scored a try in the corner, and they got it back to 28-22. And you thought, here we go. You know, this could be one of the comebacks of the season. The crowd were behind them, and Pimpy scorches through. I think, do you know what I think? I think some of the defense out wide was a little bit average. And, you know, I think the Sharks were just breaking too many tackles, being able to get on the front foot, cutting back inside, no one nailing them, able to get on the front foot, and, you know, just a bit too easy is what I would say. So, yeah, upsetting really for Cardiff because they got back, but Sharks were quality in that last sort of 20 minutes.
What did you make of how good a shape Matt Pimpy's in when he got his top taken off? Mate, what was it? 3 or 4% body fat? Absolutely
I couldn't tell if it was his back or his chest. It's just muscles everywhere. Honestly, I reckon you look at him from the front, topless, obviously, with shorts on. You turn him around, and he just got the same muscles in the same places.
Mate, his traps are ridiculous. It's like it's the shoulder blades, unbelievable.
But he's physical as well. He's super physical player. You know, he's obviously won a World Cup. He's a legend, and I mean, great bit of PR for him is what I would say.
Yeah, he'll have a few
followers,
sure, banging his door. Yeah, a few followers, female as well. On to the Munster game against the Dragons. I watched the majority of this game, and 31-0 after 32 minutes. Shanks.
Ouch.
Billy Burns played well. Ethan Coughlin at 9 was half decent. I know Paddy Patterson was on the bench. They scored some nice tries. Thomas Ahern, Kilgallen obviously wasn't about at the start of the season. He was out injured, but he was brilliant against Northampton when Munster lost by a few points away from home in the Champions Cup. But he got the first try, got them off and running. Alice Kindellan was brilliant. And the two centres, Scannell and Farrell, seemed to really, give them a gain line, and their skill sets all were pretty good. But it was just far too easy. It was like, I'm not going to say it was watching school rugby, because it wasn't watching school rugby, but it just felt like as soon as Munster got off to a quick start, the heads just dropped from the Dragons, and they just couldn't get a foothold in the game. There was no half line breaks. There was nothing that was really positive. And then it was only in sort of the last, half an hour that they sort of started to believe, here, hold on a second, we could possibly get a point out of this game. And they played a lot better. But from a Munster point of view, brilliant opening half. Gavin Coombs, excellent yet again, 19 carries, man of the match performance. It was fast pace as well. A lot of boys were huffing and puffing towards the end, and he really stood out. I know he's not really getting a look in edgeways when it comes to Irish selection, but all he can keep doing is banging that door, and he was excellent throughout. So Munster to go away from home and score 38 points, more than happy. But the Dragons, Shanks, just not good enough.
No, they've really struggled, especially after the first game of the season when they beat the Ospreys. Things are getting worse, I think, at the moment. You can see there's a massive lack in confidence. Spoke about Cardiff then, and, them maybe in the wide channels letting the Sharks on the front foot too much. I thought the Dragons was even worse. I think what they massively need, I think the pack is functional for the Dragons. Okay, it's functional enough. I think what they really lack is a 10 and a centre, like a big name. And they tried to sign, they did sign Harry Wilson. He came off the bench and actually looked pretty decent, scored a try, made a nice break for another try. But we've not really seen enough of him. They could really do with just a tried and tested number 10, a tried and tested centre, like someone that knows exactly how to communicate, how to play the game, where to play the game, the right calls. And for me, they just don't have enough quality in that back line. They've got some decent players, but not enough. And, you look at Rio Dye getting sucked in, fairly easily in the attack. It's just, they're struggling. They're struggling. It looks like Zebra away is going to be one of their best shots of their next win. And that's not going to be that easy, especially after, when they absolutely hammered Ulster 15-14.
We'll get to that in a minute. But first of all, we'll talk about Glasgow. I know there was huge amount of changes in their team with the majority of their lads obviously off on Scotland duty. They beat Connacht 22-19. I'm not sure if there was a much of a win in this game, because it seemed to be that obviously the first try went Connacht's way, but Glasgow had the majority of possession, controlled the game really well, had Connacht in the back foot. And again, it wasn't until the second half that Connacht actually started believing that they could win. Like, Connacht had a half decent team out. And you have Dave O'Connor, who hasn't played a lot in the second row, Joe Joyce, big Josh Murphy playing in the back row instead of second row, Hurley Langton played half decent. Hawkshaw obviously can play out half, but he played at 12. Cordero a fullback. So, like, they had enough there for me to go and try and beat a Glasgow
side. Glasgow home, though. It's Glasgow home.
That is tough. I know.
They're just confident.
I know, but look at the Glasgow team, Shanks. Just look at that team. There's so many, like Donkey Weir at 10, and
but that's a sign of a good team. That's what Franco Smith does. Installs them with confidence.
I know.
Installs them with a really positive game plan. Cancellieri, I thought, was amazing. Ben Ashwar was good as well. But for me, they're like the new Leinster. Leinster, I get it. But Glasgow are getting to that level now with no matter who you put in, they play the same way and they play with confidence and their skill sets are high. Their basics are good.
Well, I think sometimes as a pundit or an analyst looking at game, Shanks, and you maybe of the same thinking, sometimes you just look at two team sheets and go, oh, geez, there's an opportunity, like, 100%. For Connacht. And I think that's what some of the Ulster players maybe did this weekend as well when they were playing against Zebra.
Hold on. I just want to get some popcorn. Wait there. All right, I'm ready. I'm ready. Go. Shoot.
Well, let's just start off with the weather conditions up in Belfast. Okay. Absolutely horrendous. But you couldn't blame the pitch. 3G pitch, 4G pitch, but the boys didn't turn up. The Ulster lads didn't turn up. Got a couple of absolute drummings in the Champions Cup. They beat a second or third string Exeter team by 50 or 60 points, was it? The week before, everybody high on confidence. Ezechukwu obviously scored a hat-trick in that game. Scotty Wilson, the tight head prop, he got given man of the match by Lawrence Delanio. Everybody's feeling this feel-good factor. The media interviews, it's all positive. We've got these young group of players. We're always learning. We're doing so well. There's so many things going on behind the scenes to improve the brand, to get more bums on seats, to bring out this the boys out of their shells, to be themselves and go out and entertain and play this brand of rugby. Horseshit.
Sorry, what'd you say?
You cannot go out at home in front of your home crowd who have, standing in the pissing rain, the 7,000 or 8,000 that turned up to watch them, and deliver a performance like that. Zebra have not beaten a team in 36 games away from home over 2 years. And it was a Zebra team that were missing a couple of people as well. Like, I know Ulster were missing a couple of players, but come on, their scrum got hosed again.
Yeah,
the scrum got absolutely dominated. They lost the physicality stakes. The 9-10 combination for Zebra can control the game a lot better than Ulster did. And it was just one of those games where I was watching going, what is going on? It was John Cooney's 150th appearance for Ulster, and I think it was probably his worst game for Ulster. Just wasn't at it. Maybe it's a lack of game time, I'm not sure, but Nathan Doak come on, he brought like pace and energy to it, but he made a few mistakes, missed that kick, the high ball to keep them in the game right at the end, dropped that, and it's just a calamity of errors. And this isn't blaming coaches here, Shanks. This is not coaches. This is players rolling up your sleeves on a wet, dirty night and having a mentality that you go out and you kick lumps out of the opposition. How you do that is up to you, but you got to take it to them. You know, the weakness in the mentality for me when it comes up against a team that you should beat 99 times out of 100, and you just rock up with the attitude that you're just going to win. Why are you going to win? You're just going to win because you're at home, because you're in front of your home fans, and because you're playing Zebre, and because you're off the back of a really good, impressive performance the week before. That tells me that Richie Murphy doesn't just have to coach these guys better. He's got to mentally break them down, and he's got to see who's up for the challenge over the next couple of seasons, because this isn't a quick fix, man. I'm telling you, this is not a quick fix. This is going to take at least a couple of years. You can bring in a couple of signings, but all these young guys have got to take this on the chin. That was not good enough. Not good enough. I had friends sitting in the stands, and they and they said that the taste in the fans' mouths leaving was horrendous. They just couldn't believe what they watched for 80 minutes. So yeah, embarrassing, disgusting. Call it what you want. Zebre fully deserved their win. They should have won by more. They made more line breaks. They had full control of the game for about 72 minutes. And then Ulster decided to play and up the physicality. So fair play to them. I thought they're absolutely fantastic. I'm not sure if you watched the game or you want to throw your sixpence into it, Shanks, but
no, you've done a good job.
What
I would say is that I watched something recently on Razzie Erasmus from the last World Cup when South Africa lost to Ireland. Yeah. And just the way he speaks to his team, and he connects the team with an emotional value. You know, so not only are they going out to play rugby, but there's an emotion attached to it. And that seems to be something that maybe Ulster need. You know, they need a connection and need something, because it didn't look like the team of old. And I think slowly it sort of crept in. Maybe a bit of complacency, I'm not sure, but they didn't look like a team that were up for it. You know, I think Zebre looked far more up for it, which is strange because you're at home, you're there to entertain, you're there to put on a performance, you're there to draw fans back in. And you're right, it wasn't up to the standard you'd expect from an Ulster player. So a bit of work to be done, not just on the training part, but I think emotionally in the players' minds as well.
Yeah, more so for me, Shanks. More so like what it means to wear
play
the jersey,
for the club.
Like,
yep,
yeah, play for the club. Like it does on a night like that. You and I have been there. Many former players have been there. It's not about going out and throwing the ball around and hitting unbelievable lines and cracking offloads and scoring worldies of tries. It's about physically dominating your opposite man. And like that's where you get a lot of enjoyment. Well, that's personally where I got my enjoyment, was the look in the opposition's eyes and just go, he doesn't fancy it. And that's the way Zebre looked at Ulster. They could see in their eyes that they didn't fancy it, and that's why they went after them. And they went after them, and Ulster had a chance. But anyway, that's enough around them. Just a quick one: the URC Unloaded Player of the Round is Gonzalo Garcia, and he was the scrum half for Zebre. Played 80 minutes, controlled the game brilliantly, so vocal. I was speaking to the cameraman the other day who was there taking pictures. He said he just kept shouting and roaring at his team, organising, and he was fantastic. So big shout out to Gonzalo Garcia. Any rants, Shanks, before we move finally on to the Six Nations?
Just about people that commit to doing vlogs, podcast shows on Wednesday. They know it's Wednesday. They know it's after every round. And then last minute put in the WhatsApp group that maybe they can't make it. And then they go quiet. They go off grid. They don't give a reason. Just people like that, basically.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to name names because John Barclay would get really upset with us.
Man, he's laughing
again, mate. How many times he let us down? He let us down when he was in Singapore before.
Singapore, New York.
He had a virus, couldn't make it.
Yeah.
I'm sick of it. Honestly, I'm sick of it.
Yeah, I'm sick of him. We'll leave it at that. Final thoughts, Shanks. We're leading into a big weekend, huge weekend. with France versus Wales on the Friday night, with Scotland versus Italy on the Saturday, and we have Ireland versus England, the big one, the round off, round one of the Six Nations on Saturday afternoon. Just a quick overview of the three matches, Shanks. I'm sure you'll be working on them in some capacity.
No, weekend off, mate. I'm going to watch him at home with some sort of horrendous takeaway to make me feel good. Look, France, Wales, Friday night. I mean, part of me thinks it's the best time to play a team like France first game in before they pick up a bit of momentum. But, that would be if you had a fairly decent team behind you, like a confident team. I think it's going to be more damage limitation for Wales. I think France can win by 50. They can win by 10. It's mostly down to how much they want it, I think. And rightly so. I mean, you can't compare the two teams in terms of talent, in terms of power, and where they are right now in rugby. So I think that's going to be a really tough ask for Wales. But I just want to see a performance, really, from Wales. Not expecting a win. Just something that we haven't seen, a better attack. What do you reckon, Scotland, Italy? Because I reckon Sione Tuipulotu is a bigger loss than Finn Russell.
Yeah, I agree. Has the Scotland team been named?
No, I don't think it has yet.
No. Maybe it's tomorrow. I thought it was. Or if it has, I heard that Tom Jordan might be playing 12.
Okay. Rory Hutchins is there as well.
Rory Hutchins, yeah. But it's only Tuipulotu and Scott Cummings, isn't it? The other one, big one that's out injured.
Yeah.
So that's two big injuries. It really is. Sione Tuipulotu has been the player of the URC, one of the best players in the Champions Cup. Everything positive goes through him. He can take the ball on. He's so powerful, getting into contact. He can take the ball to the line, pull the ball out the back, give the short option. He can throw the ball over the top.
Multi-threat,
nudge it in,
call him.
Multi-threat, kick the ball in behind. He is just unbelievable. A bit like the guy. I'm not sure if you watch Leicester. There's a guy Kata plays for Leicester in the centre. Very similar sort of player. So let's face it. They should beat Italy. But Benetton, apart from last week, have been going very well. Beat La Rochelle. Lots of that team will be playing for Italy against Scotland. Do you give them a chance, Shanks? Do you give them any sort
Italy?
of chance?
100%. 100% I give them a chance because they're massively improving. And it's not often you see Italian players, I don't think, if you look at over the last 5 years, coming into a tournament where they're coming in off the back of successful club performances. So they should be coming in full of confidence. There's combinations that have been tried and tested which work. So I reckon cannot take them lightly at all. Be a great game. Be a really good game.
Yeah, be a
great
game.
Not Ireland, as big as Ireland, England.
I'm worried, Shanks.
Yeah, you should be. Genuine, you should be because that they didn't have the greatest autumn campaign, but
no, they didn't.
On another day, it could have been a perfect campaign for them. So, I mean, I've seen their team. It's out. The Curry brothers. What do you make of those two started?
Yeah. And Willis is on the bench, isn't he? Tom Willis. We have no Tag Furlong. He's out injured or hurt his calf again. The same injury that has been plaguing him for a while. Which, even if he is fit next week, it's a tough ask just to be thrown in after playing little to no rugby over the last 4 or 5 months against Scotland away.
Yeah,
Finlay Beelum had a shocker in one of the games. I think it was against Australia in the Autumn Nations where they just sneaked the win in the end. I'd be worried about him, but the back five is going to be, they've been brilliant. Keelan Doris, Josh van der Fleer, Tag Byrne if he plays at 6. You've James Ryan in the second row or Tag Byrne in the second row and Big Joe McCarthy. So lots of power there. They will meet fire with fire at the weekend. But if James Lowe gets selected on the wing, hasn't played a lot of rugby. Hugo Keenan hasn't played a lot of rugby. And the centre partnership, that's always up for debate. Mac Hansen, if he's selected, he's been banned, has played little to no rugby. So, and Ireland, they don't have a huge back three. You know, Tommy Freeman's big. You know, Freddie Stewart's obviously 6'5", probably the best in the air, in one of the best in world rugby, and he's playing really well. Like, he's been playing solid rugby for Leicester. Seems to have added a pace, a yard of pace as well to himself. So yeah, it's gonna. I don't know. Just something tells me that this could be a potential banana skin for us, Shanks.
I reckon. Well, I'm not sure. I think France might win the tournament, but I'm not sure it'd be a grand slam. But also, whoever wins Ireland, England could quite easily go on a big run and also win a grand slam, because England have got 3 games at home after that, then Wales away, last game. Ireland have got France at home. I think they've got Scotland away, maybe.
Yeah, second game, Scotland away.
Yeah,
Scotland away, second game, Shanks.
The tournament, as we all know, well, as you and I know, Stevie, not JB, it is, it's all momentum. It's like, I know it's a cliche, but it is. It is about the first game. It's the confidence. It's the next game. And all of a sudden then, you know, it starts to unfold, and you start to think, actually, you know, we can do this here. And the fixtures align, and, you know, it's going to be a close one, but it is every year. Every year we say the same thing. It's an open Six Nations, and it is between Ireland, England and France.
Well, you'll be enjoying it on your sofa with your mixed meat kebab and taco sauce, 2 portions of chips and a Domino's.
Get out my head. Get out my head.
Shanks, thanks very much for your time as always, big man. Really appreciate it. Looking forward to seeing how Wales go at the weekend. Hopefully they can put in a performance. All the listeners, you can obviously watch all the URC games and the Champions Cup games on Premier Sports, so make sure and sign up. And Shanks, I'll catch you in a couple of weeks' time when we regather for another episode of URC Unloaded.
Yeah, I really appreciate it, Stevie. Thank you for having me on.